Isaac's race end. It's a whole lot of fact checking on this episode.
Yeah, boy.
And that's okay because so much happened. It's like, honestly, how can we keep up with the 11 things that occurred?
Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Pole to Podium podcast. I am Junior.
And I'm Lily.
We're just coming off another race weekend at Silverstone. But before we dive in, how are you?
I'm doing great. Summer's finally here in New York City. My mom is also visiting us, so we've been taking full advantage of like the weather and getting out. So I'm doing really good. No complaints. How about you?
I'm good as well. I just want to apologize in advance where I'm currently recording. The rain is falling. Getting up for the summertime as well, but you know, I have to enjoy what I get. But diving right in, we missed a couple weekends. Don't worry, guys. We will fill you in, especially on that Canadian Grand Prix. But this week we just had the Silverstone Grand Prix, and well, correction, the British Grand Prix. Um, and let's start with our race predictions.
You know what? My predictions sucked. I actually got the lowest point scoring that I've ever gotten in the few races that I did participate in. I actually
The-
got 36 points. And I'm so embarrassed. But yeah, no, it's actually really bad. I think I might have gotten two questions correct. 2 out of 12 or something like that.
Wow.
It's very embarrassing.
Okay, I feel way better. Honestly, I feel so much.
Well, I'm glad that my downfall, makes you feel better.
Nah, I'm just messing. But I got 57. So let's run through the questions really quickly.
All right, so question one asks us to predict the podium for the 2025 British Grand Prix. Now, my first choice was Lewis Hamilton, duh, obviously, because I was
Wow.
hoping that he would continue his streak. I also felt pretty confident that Charles would be right behind him in second because they were looking to be competitive during their free practice sessions. And then third, I put Lando because obviously you can't count out a McLaren at this point in the F1 season. So those are my top three.
Okay. And you spoke of Lewis's streak. We'll speak on that later. So for my P1, I actually had Lando. P2, I went with Oscar. And P3, I went with Max. And Lando, of course, I was rooting for him to get like one of those back-to-back wins. Coming off a winner in Austria, I was rooting for him. Not rooting. I was expecting him to finish P1, and of course Max. I You can never count out Max.
No.
Uh, so I had to get him in there.
But why the choice to not put in Lewis?
I
That's a
so
questionable choice.
so of course, and so Lewis, as we said about the streak, I wanted him very badly to get that podium. However, based on the free practice race pace, because I paid attention to practice sessions very closely. I recently upgraded my watching experience. So Lewis's race pace it was very concerning to me compared to Charles. So I didn't have much confidence that he would finish in a podium spot. However, I did not calculate the tricky conditions. So that's why no Lewis, unfortunately.
I'm gonna just say, if we ever meet Lewis Hamilton, I'm telling. I'm
Lewis
telling.
Lewis will understand, trust me. He will definitely understand.
All right. Well, question two said who will qualify highest for the
Oh,
Grand
wait,
Prix?
we
And
didn't give the result. So I actually
oh,
got uh 22 points for that prediction.
oh, I love that for you. I'm just, I
Yeah,
didn't
we're
get, I
just
didn't
gonna
get
move on.
much points.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't get much points on that one.
Much equals zero.
I actually did not get zero because I had Lando on.
Ah, so you
I had
got
him on
5
the
points.
podium. I got six.
Wow.
I got something.
Yeah,
All right. So, question two was who will qualify highest for the Grand Prix? And the two options were the McLaren duo, Oscar and Lando. And I chose Lando, which is how I got the question incorrect. Who did you choose?
I also went with Lando, um, but Oscar was on pole. Correction, Oscar was P2. So we both got that question incorrect. So 0 points each, right?
Yeah,
All right.
exactly. And then question three is how many British drivers will get into Q3? I chose three of the British drivers, so that would have meant either Lando, Lewis, George, or Ollie. And once again, I was incorrect. I got 0 points, and I actually had my two-time chip
Oh,
activated,
oh no
so I
way.
got 0 times 2 equals 0.
Oh my. Yo, me too. I actually went with three and I also selected my two times chip activate. So wow. So we both got basically negative.
Yeah,
So how much that's what for you know. Six still? Oh my god.
it's still six. It's still six. All
All right.
right, question four, where, another shocker, no points here for me. Will we see a new winner of the British Grand Prix? I said no because I believed in my heart that Lewis would win. So, that's how I got that question wrong.
You look into it a F1 movie storyline. I went with yes because
How
I
I was
obviously
betrayed at Silverstone.
I went with yes because I obviously selected Norris to win. So I did get 10 points for that question. Question five?
Question five, which of the British drivers will finish the highest in the race? Well, I'm sure you can figure out based on the trend what my answer was.
Zero. I'm enjoying myself this week.
Okay, I voted. So the drivers, once again, Lando, George, Lewis, Ollie. I chose Lewis, got 0 points.
Well, I went with Lando, so I got 10.
Mm.
Racking them up.
You know what? I don't care. Because at the end of the day, my loyalty was shining through in this predictions.
Man,
And
it's
if I
about
gotta go down with 36 points for Lewis, I will.
I'm trying to get this W.
That's fine. I'm gonna catch you another time. Okay, question six. Who will set the fastest pit stop time of the race? The correct answer was it Visa Cash App Racing Bulls?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, and I incorrectly chose McLaren. Who did you choose?
I went with Mercedes, so boy got zero.
Question seven. Will there be more than one use of the safety car or virtual safety car during the Grand Prix? Now, I have to say, this is a question I always vote yes for. So that's where I got my 15 points.
I also went with yes due to uh me foreseeing probably tricky weather and
Yeah.
also based on how practice went. There were a lot of going off the tracks, spins, and people flirting with the barriers. Well, not the barriers, but the gravel. So I went with
I,
yes.
I also feel like there's been a lot of mechanical issues recently.
Oh
Cars
yes,
with gearbox issues. So, weather aside, I'm like, something is going to happen.
yeah, for sure. And
Okay.
and we definitely saw Franco not even being able to start the race. So
Right. So disappointing. All right. Now, question eight is who will set the fastest lap time of the race? Who did you choose?
so I went with my boy Charles Leclerc. Let me pronounce that over Charles Leclerc. But I we saw that Oscar got that. What did you? Who did you go with?
Well, I chose the other one of the McLaren duo. I thought it
Oh,
would be Lando.
oh damn.
So I wasn't like far off. Question 9. Which team will score more points? And the choices were Williams or Aston Martin. And I chose Aston Martin and I got another 15 points for that. So that is where I got my last point.
So I actually got this one incorrect. I went with Williams. Just based on recent form, they've been
Mhm.
terrible, having bad luck. I thought this was the weekend where they will hopefully bounce back. But Aston did a better job this weekend. Congrats to them, and 0 points to me.
Okay, and then the last question is how many different teams will finish in the top 10? So, honestly, I'm not gonna hold you. I didn't put a ton of thought into this question. I incorrectly selected six, and it was eight, which to me is still like that was high. I felt like in my opinion, thought six would be a good answer because I was like trying to count some teams in my head, but obviously I wasn't expecting the Nico wild card. I wasn't expecting the Stroll wild card. Like there were a lot of things that I was not expecting. So yeah, that's where I got it wrong.
Okay, so I also went with six. I actually put a lot of thought into it, but those basically, so it's only two teams that didn't score. Let that sink in. That's
Like
crazy.
that's rare.
That's rare. That is absolutely crazy. So there's only 10 spots, and there's two teams, two drivers per team. So that is very that is a crazy stat.
Yeah.
So we
I
both
thought
got zero.
yeah, I thought six was gonna
But
be a fair
honestly,
number.
I would take that. That's a zero I would take
Mm.
because six is already high.
Fair, yeah.
So with that being said, I got 57, Lily 30,
Six.
oh, 36.
But you know what? I will say that I have had much better rounds, of course. And this will be the last time I'm getting a low number like this.
I bet.
This is not
So
going to happen again.
the Belgium, which is my favorite race,
Hmm.
rung 13 will open Wednesday, so the Wednesday before the race. So if you're listening, guys, feel free to join us in F1 Predict. Our league is pole to podium. So moving on to the actual race itself, we had another McLaren 1-2, and we're gonna start off with McLaren. It's impressive weekend for them. A bit of a bit of team, I guess, challenge for them. Oscar being served with a 10-second time penalty. We can discuss whether or not you think that was fair. No, he's going to discuss whether that was fair. Nevertheless, Lando Norris securing his first home victory, and we said it here on the pod before. We love to see drivers doing well at their home race. Very exciting race to watch. I rated out of five. I'll give it a five. A lot of challenges, weather, tire strategies. We saw mistakes. Lily, how was that race for you? And
Well,
how was the McLaren team?
yeah, I would agree with you. The race was 5 out of 5. It was full of excitement and all the things that make Formula One interesting to watch. The McLaren boys, as it relates to Norris, I was very happy that Lando won. Uh, as you said, we love to see a hometown hero succeed at their home race. So, seeing his joy and even his parents, their response was so beautiful and touching. So, I, of course, joined in on the cheering when Lando crossed the finish line. Oscar, I have some feelings about. I felt like he obviously was very irritated at that 10-second penalty, and I think that his reaction yesterday, I hope is not his reaction today, because when they first interview the drivers, they're like fresh out of the car, emotions are high. He didn't win, obviously. He got second behind his teammate. He and Lando are now like the distance between them, the two in points is in the single digits. So obviously, like things, there's a lot going on in his head, but I don't feel like he was justified in all of that anger. I think that the penalty was justified,
Okay.
whether it was 5 seconds or 10 seconds, but I do think that what he did justified getting a penalty point for.
Yeah.
What do you think about the 10-second penalty? Do you think it was fair? Do you think it should have been five? Do you think it should have been zero?
Right. So, uh, I definitely think he deserved a penalty. Probably I would say 5 seconds seemed more appropriate at the time. I could see why the stewards gave him a 10-second penalty. You know, breaking, driving erratically. I believe it's the official charge. Um, it was raining, visibility was low, cold tires, so I can see a justification for 10 seconds. Um, but he definitely deserved a penalty, in my opinion. I also want to say that I actually want this Oscar. You know, I hope the Oscar I saw yesterday is the Oscar that continues for the rest of the season. Like
You want somebody who's angry
I
and
want
bloodthirsty?
it, and that's what makes the champion. Like, I want to see that passion. Um, However, Oscar's request was ridiculous. There is no way
Oh,
McLaren was going to swap the
and
cars. Even if they thought it was not justifiable or not a fair penalty. But Oscar was very he was he was definitely shooting along. That's a Hail Mary. And you know this Lando didn't do anything wrong, so I think it would have been unfair to Lando to give the place back to Oscar. So I was saying that I hope Oscar, you know, I like to see this. I want to know that the drivers actually want this and he's actually willing to go to the extremes to win the race.
And also, it shows that he's in a mind state where he's like, every second matters. Every second
Every
matters to
race.
me. Yeah,
Yes,
every single move I make matters to me securing the driver's championship. So I
exactly.
do hear that point, which is you want to see this kind of like bloodthirsty energy from him. Um, but I also think that sometimes hindsight is better. It is just is something that like the drivers have to sit and think with, because I don't agree with his immediate reaction when he
I
got out
mean,
of the car. I also did not enjoy seeing him kind of joke around about Nico Hulkenberg's Lego trophy. Now, yes, it could have been a joke, right? It could have been like Oscar's like really cold and dry humor, but it just came off as a bit tactless when he made a comment that Nico has waited over 200 races just to get a Lego trophy. I didn't find that funny.
oh,
I
okay.
thought, I thought that was a little tag. I was like, I think that in this case, if Nico was to totally dad you right now and put you in your place, little boy, he wouldn't have been in the wrong, because that was rude. That was so rude.
I thought it was hilarious.
I did not think it was funny. The man literally,
Nico,
he's been
uh,
racing forever, and you're gonna talk about, oh, your first trophy's a Lego trophy? That's
but
not funny.
Nico had the perfect response. He's like, my daughter. He loved Legos. Like his daughter is going to play with it and stuff. Like
Yeah.
But I think they're just having fun. Nico is such a cool guy. But we're gonna talk more about Nico and McLaren drivers when we get to him because I also did not like their celebration. I thought that could have been handled better. Um, but I again, McLaren continues to dominate, and I, m- next race is going to be great. All teams going to bring upgrades. I'm looking forward to it. It's also my favorite track. So let's see if they continue form. I also think they have the constructors championship locked. You wanna say something?
I do. Did you see the stress in my head?
Yeah.
Because as soon as you said that they were dominating, it made me think there was a point in the race, like lap 40, 35, something like that, where Oscar was ahead by like 55 seconds. 55 seconds is insane. Like, that is an insane number to be ahead of anyone, honestly. Or actually, it might not have been Oscar because it might have been Lando behind Oscar. So it might have been Lando who was 55 seconds ahead of, let's say it was like Hulk, whoever it was. That was like frazzling me because
Yeah, the
at that
McLarens.
point,
Yeah.
yeah, because at that point it's like, okay, those two are in a race of their own. And everybody else behind them is in a race of
Yeah.
their own. It very much felt like there were three different races happening.
Yeah. It feels like Max Verstappen in a Red Bull last couple seasons. Just him and then
With
everybody else.
the one exception that Max was alone at the front, whereas the McLarens have each other. But you know what I do think is very satisfying? When Max took off at the start of the race and the two McLarens were right behind him, I really wonder if he is now feeling the anxious energy that he makes other people feel. Like to have the two papaya cars behind him chasing him down. I really wonder, like, if he's in his mind, like, I really got to apply pressure.
Well, I mean, for sure, they all drivers probably do have that, but for Max at this point, it's not even like Max is there. I think it affects the McLaren drivers more, even if Max is at the front, because Max is a four-time world champion. He literally battled with Lewis Hamilton in coming down to the end. I think he has enough experience. I think it affects the McLaren drivers even more just once they see Max, you know. So I think for sure he probably does have those moments still, but I think he knows how to handle it very well.
Yes. And I also think that if he doesn't feel it in this moment, I think that he may start to feel it more and more at an extreme level in the future because Oscar and Lando are overtaking him. They're not letting him be big bad Max on the track bullying him. So I loved it when Lando overtook him, um though shortly after Max got out ahead of him in the pit lane, so that didn't really matter. But I do think that Max is not going unchallenged with the McLaren boys.
Yeah, let's wait for Max and let's hope he doesn't get a better car because it's going to be problems.
Let's
Anyway,
hope.
let's hope.
I know that this is just a slight tangent, but I have, call me a hater, but I've been enjoying Max's unlucky streak lately.
Well, since we're talking about Max, we might as well just move on to Red Bull.
Yeah. I mean, we could do a quick pivot to Red Bull because then
We
we,
could
of
do a
course,
quick
have to come
pivot.
back to Hulk. But yeah, let's pivot to Red Bull.
Okay, so moving on to Red Bull, we had Max qualifying in pole position along his teammate putting qualifying in P12. Max finished P5. So Yuki finished P15. And we continue to see Yuki struggle in that second Red Bull car. I feel really bad for Yuki. I like Yuki as a driver. Um I really hope this does not affect, potential career opportunities with other teams or even just his like mood. It's a big psychological difference because we all know Yuki's a good driver, and um, everyone who seems to go to that Red Bull seat gets overshadowed by Max. And speaking of Max, started at P1, finished P5, had some mistakes during the race which cost him a lot of points. He's still P3 in the championship, but I think it's honestly over for him in that sense. Of course, mathematically, it's still possible, but I think a lot or even too much will have to go in his favor for him to actually win a fifth championship. Um, I believe the constructors, of course, is way out of Red Bull's reach. Even last season when we saw that, and Red Bull continues to have team drama. There's reports of Max Verstappen in talks with Mercedes. There's George Russell. Can't sign a contract as yet. So there's a lot going on with Red Bull. What was your take on Red Bull for this weekend? Oh, and quickly, I also saw this stat where Sauber actually scored more points than Red Bull in the last three races, which is crazy.
That's actually insane. That is a very embarrassing place for Red Bull to be in. So these are my thoughts. First thing is, I hate to be a hater, but I think everybody's got a little bit of hater in them.
Uh,
And I don't feel sorry or sad when Max struggles. I'm sorry, I
oh,
don't. I
wow.
I find it a little bit satisfying. I do, because when I think about all the trauma he's inflicted over the past few years, I think that, you know what, maybe it's his go around. Maybe it's his turn to kind of reap the harsh behavior he's been inflicting. So I personally was thrilled when he was overtaken by Oscar and Lando independently. I also was thrilled when he was drifting at times, kind of like struggling with his car. I'm very happy that he did not crash, because I would never take it that far. But you know what, I like to see certain drivers ahead of Max. So if that's how we have to get there, then that's how we have to get there.
No, no.
Moving on to Yuki. Now, Yuki's not so much of a funny matter to me, because, and this is where the smile snaps away, because I really do like Yuki. And I think it's always hard to talk about the second Red Bull seat, because we know that it's cursed, we know that it's trash. Um, so there's only but so much that he could do. He's slow, he's struggling in the car, he doesn't have the pace, and then makes to make matters worse, he also had a collision with Ali that then costed him a 10-second penalty. So, just the streak of bad luck is continuing. And as you said, Junior, I hope that this doesn't ruin his prospects of moving to a different team. But I really would like to see Yuki switch to a different team, because I just don't want to see him go out like this as a Formula One driver, to end his career in the same way that Checo did, which is kind of disgraced. It's just not a good feeling. Though I don't want to totally ignore that Checo could come back, but I just mean that, he is no longer on the grid. His last race was with Red Bull, and it wasn't like he went out being hailed a hero. So there's that.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think it will get that far, where he doesn't have a seat. That would be very devastating. But I really hope at least next year, if he's still at Red Bull, that he actually gets a car, or anyone actually in that second seat gets a car that, not only Max can drive, but both drivers.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Let's move on from Debbie Downer Red Bull. I feel like they're bringing down the vibes.
Yeah. So let's act. So we could talk about. You want to go with
Kick.
Sauber?
Exactly. That's exactly where I want to go. I want to go straight to Kick Sauber. And I want to start with Nico Hülkenberg, who
Nico. Hulk.
defied the odds. I mean, that
Nico.
was a mix of luck, it was a mix of skill, it was a mix of team strategy being on point. That was just so beautiful to watch. And I think like moments like this, where you have the rarity, meaning the rare team or the rare driver actually succeed, is what makes Formula One exciting. Like, yes, I love to see Lewis winning, winning, winning. I love to see, McLaren dominating, things like that. But I also equally love when Pierre and Esteban were on podium. That was an amazing moment in Brazil last year. So that to me kind of reignited this this flame, being able to like cheer for the underdog. And in this case, the underdog is a 37-year-old, very experienced Formula One driver who just never made podium until yesterday.
For sure. I love, and as you said, this is what makes Formula One enjoyable, the underdog story. We love those moments, and it's what motivates, the teams. Imagine the mood in Sauber right now, knowing that, they just got a podium when they weren't expecting it. Imagine that they only had two bottles of champagne. Mercedes actually ship some champagne to them to, so the mood in the team right now is probably over the top. Now, I have to admit this, I actually, tears came up my eyes for Nico. Like,
Oh, that's
I
so
love Nico
sweet.
so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for real. Cause you know, Lewis was chasing him for that podium, and it was a very conflicting moment. Of course, I wanted Lewis to first, that would have been the streak continuing, and also his first podium with Ferrari. It's probably the closest we've been. However, Lewis has more than one. Lewis has 9 wins at Silverstone. Um, I think Nico's story had to come to, like, this. This was his moment. I love how Sauber was able to capitalize on the safety cars, on the rain. Great calls, staying out when they should. Pitting Nico, jumping a lot of cars, a lot of the Ferrari, and the Mercedes cars. So congrats to Nico. Um, I love that, his daughter was on TV screaming at him. Honestly, those, like, this is these are the moments that I love to see in Formula One. And also, I just have to say that I thought the McLaren drivers could have been a little bit more hospitable on the podium. It's Nico's first podium ever, and I don't know. I just thought they could have, welcomed him a little bit more.
Listen, that's not a wild thought because I thought the same. The fact that Nico looked dry during the
Yeah,
champagne celebration,
that was crazy.
just gave like big hater energy up there.
It
Like,
did, and
come
it
on,
doesn't
this
have
is
any
and
reason for this
and you
though.
know what this reminds me of? Remember when Oscar got his first win and
Yeah,
Lando gave him the cold shoulder up there and sprayed everybody else but Oscar? That's exactly the energy that this gave me with Nico. I think Nico should have been dripping, like
I think so too.
dripping in champagne. And I 100% agree with you, which in the opinion that the energy was off. I mean, Lando, you literally got first. Like, you got it. You know what I mean? It takes nothing to now celebrate literally the underdog who has never been up on that podium before.
Yeah.
So I thought that it gave mean girl energy.
It definitely did, and I felt really bad for Nico, but the team definitely came through, and love to see Gabby run into him after the right before the right before he got to the team, congratulating him.
Wait, can I tell you something? I actually rewinded that moment because they showed Lando getting off the car, and I'm seeing this guy run past Lando. I'm like, is that Gabby? And I had to rewind it. Gabriel Bortoleto didn't even make eye contact with Lando. Like, he knew exactly where he was going, and that was
Yeah,
to congratulate his
They-
team member. It was
yeah,
so beautiful.
in the off broad in another broadcast, where because on the live broadcast he was showing the interview, but actually seeing those scenes, and it was very heartwarming for, such a team that will also be Audi next season. So
Mhm.
it's great to see that they actually get a podium. with, I guess, the last time being Sauber, and great job to them. But
Yeah.
I know very disappointing on Gabby's term of course coming out of such a great race, scoring his first points ever in Formula One. To now crashing out. Um, and is he? I could imagine he's feeling pretty bad about it, but it only goes to show that he's just a rookie, and rookie, all but one rookie on the grid crashed, or at least did not finish because Franco
Or
didn't
was,
crash.
yeah.
So hopefully Gabi could come back stronger next race, and Saba could keep up the fight, because I love to see mid tier teams and the lower tier teams actually fight and could end up on the podium
Yeah, I agree. I think that that is just as exciting as watching Lando and Oscar duel it out.
for sure.
Same level of excitement is what it brings. Um, yeah, so I would hope that we could have another moment like that before the 2025 season wraps up, but I do feel like those moments are a rarity, so we might not get it again unless there's some heavy rain involved. Brazil is still on the schedule. That might come up soon.
Yes, for sure. And we mentioned it. We can move right on to Ferrari, since
Or we could just skip Ferrari.
we could just skip Ferrari. Such
Because lordy. I'm just gonna be honest, the only thing I have to say um is I'm disappointed, as I'm sure everyone else who supports Ferrari is. I don't want to dwell on the disappointment because there are other things to be happy about and, like, rejoice in. So that's all I have to say about Ferrari. Better luck next time, please.
okay, well, what I am going to say, in all honesty, not a bad weekend for Lewis's side of the garage in the sense of result. Of course, it's not what
Are you
is expected.
saying are you saying getting beaten by a Sauber is not a bad weekend?
No, coming in P4 is not a bad weekend.
Okay.
So if I, of course, Lewis was passed by a Sauber on a race recently in the season. I remember that. So
I
it's
do. I
like
remember that too.
we
I
we
remember that too.
we actually spoke about it on the podcast.
Sure did. That Nico again.
It was Nico. So honestly, P4 for Hamilton is it seems to be the trend, right? But that's unacceptable, and I'm not even going to speak on Charles. Horrible call out the stat by him to box, and the gamble didn't work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And Spa, they bring more upgrades, so let's see if that that works. And they continue to make fine tunes here and there, and Lewis continues to get more under the car. He tends to understand it more, and I still think that P2 in the constructors is up for play. Mercedes, for Ferrari, and Red Bull. So moving on from Ferrari, we head to, let's talk about the Aston Martin.
Well,
We had
first Alpine is first because Pierre was sixth.
Oh yeah, so we could talk about the Alpine. I don't have much to say about them other than great job by Pierre to he had a great qualifying, and he finished very well. Disappointment on Franco, because I like Franco, and just hearing him on the team radio made me very sad, knowing that he's on a race to race basis. Because I know Flavio is a guy who he likes results now, and hopefully his side of the garage could get things under control. And good job by Pierre.
Yeah, I would echo the same thing. I felt like Pierre throughout the race was very consistent. He at times was I remember at one time he passed Lewis, um, and I'm very happy that he passed Lance because, to be honest, I mean, is anyone really a Lance Stroll fan? No, but I do. I don't cheer on Alpine. I don't necessarily cheer on Pierre, but I like Pierre. So when I see him doing well, I'm excited for him.
Don't do my boy
So
Lance that, please.
your boy? Since when? Since when is that your boy? I didn't see you in green in Montreal.
Oh my god,
I didn't see
yo.
you in green in Montreal. What you talking about, my boy?
I had on the green pants, yo.
Now we have
Nah,
an undercover Lance fan
nah,
on the
nah, nah, nah,
podcast.
nah. I just need my prediction to hit. Remember, I predicted a Lance Stroll podium sometime this season. I'm telling you, man. I
Okay, well
remember
he was close at one point because at one
he
point he
was
was in
in
front of Nico. Yeah, he
he
was
was
in
in
front of
P3.
Nico. He
Yeah, he
was.
was fighting.
But then he
Honestly,
also had gotten passed several times by people. So, that dream kind of got cut quickly.
yeah, his tires fell off, but brilliant strategy by Aston Martin. Honestly, that was a masterclass. I think Lance Stroll had the best. No, no, sorry. That's obviously going to be Nico in the Sauber. Oh, also we forgot to mention Nico started in P19.
Yeah, and Stroll started 17. So is that
Yeah,
what you were going to say, that he had a good race story until a
yeah,
certain
yeah.
point? Well, he
No,
did.
I mean he did still, but like the when he stopped was just brilliant because he stopped for fresh softs. You said he got overtaken by a lot of people, but you should also know I'm pretty sure Lance Stroll had the most overtakes in the race.
Fair.
Yeah, so he had a lot
Yeah.
of overtakes. Because Nico also gained his position by track when a lot of people pitted, but we
Mhm.
forgot to mention that Nico started in P19, which is this is insane. This is like Lewis Hamilton, Max
Max
Verstappen
Verstappen level.
recovery. Yeah, exactly. So you see, Nico was my driver of the day. Um, but Lance Stroll again starting in P7, P17. Great drive by him as well.
Yeah, and honestly, my eyes were kind of glued on Lance more so than Fernando. So I really couldn't tell you what Fernando was doing during that race.
Honestly, me too. I
Yeah, I'm
literally.
sorry to that man, but I don't know how his race was.
Next up, we have Mercedes, and what a disappointing weekend.
Yeah. Well, I'd say the first disappointment was seeing Toto in that old Englishman hat.
But
That's how I knew I wasn't gonna have a good weekend with Mercedes,
yeah,
because that's not even Toto's style. I mean, it's not even George's style either. If you
we
don't
have
know
a
what I'm
big. By
referring
the way,
to,
we have a big Toto fan here. So she said that's not Toto's style. That's
it's
not Toto's style.
not. Come on, they I feel like they single-handedly aged him like 30 years by putting this old man hat on him.
Facts, he
And
did
I
look old.
know that's like, I guess that was like their Silverstone merch, but it just is showing that Lewis has left the team, and so has all the good fashion choices. Because that hat is atrocious. Take that
All
hat
the
off
R,
him.
all the
Take
R.
it off of Toto. So, that joke aside, I honestly felt like that was the I honestly felt like that was the start to the bad weekend for me. Then you have George, who very quickly ended up in the same predicament as Charles.
Not too much to say about Mercedes, and honestly, really any of the other teams got a lot of DNFs. Again, as I said, only one rookie finished the race, and Silverstone honestly continues to be one of the every year produces a great race. It's definitely up there with with the tracks. And as we move on to next race, it will be Spa, one of my favorite track, and hopefully I am locking in early a Ferrari podium.
Oh, okay.
So we could
Well,
no, go
I'm not
ahead.
locking in any podium because after getting 36 points for
You gotta
my
go.
for my poor predictions. I'm just gonna wait, see, and I'm gonna assess the scenery.
You're gonna pray on it.
I'm gonna do some research next
You
time.
got research. All right, Lily. How you want to wrap up the episode? Do you want to play a game really quickly?
I Well, actually, I want to talk about our driver of the day,
Oh yeah.
our biggest disappointment, and our best moment because I think that I'm actually interested to hear what your response to the three are. So, how about we start with driver of the day? I'm wondering if we have the same driver of the day.
So my driver of the day was Nico.
Okay, I'm glad you chose the right answer because there was clearly only one right answer, and that was
There
Nico
was there was only
for
one.
all of the reasons we mentioned already, right?
Yeah, P19 to P3, first podium in Asaba. Great job.
Okay,
He also got 49% of the Salesforce driver of the day. He should have gotten 60, but anyways,
those losers. It's because I didn't vote. That's why.
I I didn't vote as well.
Okay. So, given that we both have the same driver of the day, how about we just segue into what your best moment of the Silverstone Grand Prix was? I can certainly go first because mine is connected to Nico. And my best moment was seeing a K Mag return to the garage and also hearing Gabby Bortoletto's heartwarming message to Nico after he crossed the line. What actually made me chuckle is when he got on the radio, he was like, "Hey Nico, it's Gabby." And that made me chuckle because it's like there's only one Brazilian, I'm pretty sure, at Kick Sauber. So I just thought it was so cute the way that his relationship is with his old teammate Kevin Magnussen and also his new current teammate Gabby Bortoletto. That was super heartwarming, and that is my best moment.
My best moment of the weekend as well goes to Nico. Um, I loved everything about his race, but seeing him just be completely clueless about, for example, how in the cool long room apparently he left his helmet out. He's supposed to bring it in. Like just being a complete newbie, but being around Formula One so long, and just seeing him going up there, seeing the team, how it actually made, as I said, tears, come out, like tears run from my eyes, and later seeing his daughter cheering, you know, and as you said, just from the comments that Oscar made to him, bringing it back to his daughter, just shows the type of person he is. And I really loved that. Was definitely my best moment, just Nico's podium.
Okay, and should we just end on a high note? I fear we don't even bother with a disappointment of the weekend.
Okay, we could do that. I
Yeah, let's
think,
just end
if
on
you,
the
if you
on
watch the
the.
race, you definitely know who the disappointments of the weekend was.
We already know what the disappointments were, and we can
No,
just end on the Nico Hulkenberg high.
I agree. Well, with that being said, thank you for listening, guys. Again, don't forget to follow our socials, Sport to Podium. Share it with friends. And if you're new to F1, again, welcome. And see you in the next episode. Lily, what do you have to say?
I have to say, see you in the next episode. The Belgian Grand Prix is going to be a good one, so definitely check us back for our race review when that race wraps up.
All right, bye.
Bye.